name. Amen. Princes shall come out of Egypt. Ethiopia shall soon stretch forth her hands unto God. Except the Lord build the house, their labor is but lost that build it. Except the Lord keep the city, the watchman waketh but in vain. Let's repeat our motto. One God, one aim, one destiny. Direct us, O Lord, in all our doings with thy most gracious favor, and further us with thy continued help, that in all our works begun, continued, and ended in thee, that we may glorify thy holy name, and finally by thy mercy obtain everlasting life through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Almighty God, we beseech thee. Almighty God, we beseech thee to assist us with thy heavenly grace, and so prosper the godly aims and endeavors of this association in bringing peace, justice, liberty, and happiness to our race. Grant us wisdom and discretion in all our undertakings, patience under our difficulties, triumph over our enemies, and a happy issue out of all of our struggles. Save us, we pray thee, from the great danger of unhappy division. Take from us envy and hatred and malice, and whatsoever may hinder us from union and concord. As there is but one body and one God, and one hope of our calling, one God, one aim, one destiny, so we may be all of one heart and mind and soul, united into one holy bond of truth, faith, and charity, and may with one mind and mouth glorify thee through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Ghost be with us evermore. Let us repeat the prayer, God of the right, our backward spine. It's on your, it's in the program. It's a prayer. It's a prayer. Look, it's both sides of the song sheet. Let's repeat it. God of the right, our battles fight. Be with us as of yore. Break down the barriers of might. We reverently implore. Stand with us in our struggles for the triumph of the right, and spread confusion ever o'er the advocates of might. And let us know that righteousness is mightier than sin, that might is only selfishness, and cannot, ought not win. Endow us, Lord, with faith and grace, and courage to endure. When the Lord we suffer, hear apace, and bless us evermore. Amen. We will now sing, Lift Every Voice and Sing. I believe it's also in your program. We'll only sing the first verse. Go ahead. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the roaring sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the prophets has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Please be seated. Yes. Good evening, brothers and sisters. It's a pleasure to see you this afternoon. I want to welcome you to this program this evening, to this wonderful program that we have provided for you, and I know you're going to enjoy it. Before I do that, first I want to thank you for coming, and it's always nice to see when our people can get together and feast together, and we certainly are very happy to have you with us. At this time, it is with great pleasure that I will present the chairman of this program and also the president of the A.L. Crawford Division of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League. I give you now the Honorable Marcus Garvey, Jr.
Brothers and sisters, sons and daughters of Mother Africa, friends, greetings and welcome. I'm very happy to see you all here this evening. We seem to have got a lot more people than we expected. We're actually running out of tables, but that's a very good sign. I think that perhaps the activities of Newt Gangrene and company have made us think a little deeper. But it's not only them, because we're having serious problems throughout Europe from the fascists and neo-Nazis. So this is a great crisis time for us as a people throughout the world. We have are more under attack than we have been in the last 25 years now. And those who don't want to realize this are those who would sleep through an earthquake, through hurricanes and flooding. African History Month serves a very vital purpose to remind us of our heritage, to remind us who we are, because there are so many of us who don't seem to remember who we are, and also where we came from. And during African History Month, we look at these things, and we should, if we're honest in looking, realize that we were a very great people in the past, and if we think about it, we are going to be a very great people in the future. 1995 is a very important year. It's an important year for our organization, for we are in a very strong rebuilding position, and we are weeding out the bad elements which have infiltrated our organization.
Thank you.
And all black organizations should be doing that now. You can see from what happened with Malcolm X's daughter, the degree of surveillance and the degree of, I would call it opportunistic espionage. Just not merely espionage, opportunistic espionage. Because they're not only trying to find out information, but they're trying to set us against each other. They're trying to let us do stupid things. We have these people in your organization says, for instance, I remember some time ago one of them saying, when are we going to get our guns, you know? He hadn't joined 2 weeks, but he was ready to get the guns. Well, it wasn't long before we realized what he was, and when we realized what he was, he didn't show up again after that. We have to understand the issues with which we are confronted. This is a very interesting program, and we want to move rapidly forward. For one of the most interesting parts of the program is the veritable feast that we have for you, those of you who come with us often, all home-cooked stuff, and we have a feast from our great guru, professor, lecturer, Egyptologist, and author, Dr. Ben. And he's right here, And I want you now to give him a big hand to show you how much you love him. I'm going to call on for our very first presentation, and I want you to look in your program. We have Janice Lamb. Now, we misspelled her name. She has a very beautiful name, Jamise, Jamese, and she's going to do the Ode to the Flag. And the Ode to the Flag should have been in the program, but for some reason, the Ode to the Flag didn't get here. But Jamise is going to do it for us. And this flag was given to us in August 1920 by Marcus Garvey. It was raised at the Great Convention in Madison Square Garden, 30,000 delegates in August 1920. And this year, the flag, the red, black, and green, will be raised again in August, and it won't be done only in the United States. Can you reach here?
This poem is Ode to the Flag. Here's to this flag of mine, the red, black, and green. Hopes high in its future, bright Africa has seen. Here's to the red of it, great nations shall know of it in time to come. Red blood shall flow of it, historians shall write of it, the red, black, and green of it, O flag of mine. Here's to the black of it, 4 million back of it, whose destinies depend on it, the red, black, and green of it, O flag of mine. Here's to the green of it, young men shall dream of it, maidens shall sing of it, waving so high. Here's to the whole of it, colors bright and pole of it. Pleased is my soul with it, regardless of what's told of it. Thank God for giving it, O flag of mine.
Now, we are going to get a real shot in the arm, and I mean a good one. Poetry for the People by our own brother Noel Morgan. Brother Morgan.
Greetings. Baragani. Yet another day of either 28 or 29 days in this month that we get for African history. I think as a people, we must always think rapidly, vigilant. We must take not only a here, but every day we live as our history, whether past, present, or future. Oftentimes, I hear the phrases, the children are the future, and something hear the negative, this is the last generation. If the generation is gone, what's going to be left of us? So if we're not preparing for our children's future, in this future, then there'll be nobody's future. We're doomed. See, I write poetry in the spirit of liberation and nationalism and nationhood. But we must have concept and we must develop strength and unity among us as a people. We have to look to our culture as our guidance. It's a strong, strong culture, a unique culture. So what we have to do, we have to start organize, build concept, we have to criticize each other. We have to disagree sometimes to agree, but we have to look into ourselves. And the first thing to do is to cure yourself first, then you can go to a brother or sister because you're a shining example. This first piece I want to read is about the African mind. And it's a concept. You know, they say the 10 Commandments. Dr. Ben always said the 42 negative confession. But we basically open the 10 positive concepts of the African mind. The African mind must be confined to its worth. The African mind must now unwind from the negative depictions. The African mind must be inclined to recapture and rewrite our history. The African mind is one of a kind. Let's start moving towards the right direction. The African mind must combine, then unity will emerge. The African mind must glow as it once did, shine so bright, that guiding light. The African mind must be true as it binds. The African mind must not be unkind to your distraught or fallen families. The African mind must be able to withstand the trials, the tribulations, and grind positively as one. The African mind still knows its love, its growth and long existence, thrives and care, and statesmanship ability. We must control our African mind. This piece, I Pray the River, and each of us come from different direction, different part of the world. You know. So we travel to where we have to get to. And as an African born in Jamaica, I see only one link, and it's the African link. Maybe we all can live in Africa physically, but we can make Africa where we are as a people when we tie the link. I would love to live in Africa, but still have a brother here that I can come and see any day of the week. But that is the strength. So this piece is I Pray the River. I pray the river be good to you in your crossing, as you pursue to be righteous and true to your fellow men, that our hearts and souls will be enriched by all earth's richest blessings. I pray the river be good to you in your crossing, and the sun that rises in the east shines with a glow for the existence of our life. That beautiful sun that sets in the west will strengthen our hearts in our noble quest. I pray the river be good to you in your crossing, in your searchings and in your findings. We will prolong to make us one, and together we'll all be strong. I pray the river to be good to you in your crossing, and the seeds you plant will grow erect and is nourished to its perfection, that we can all reap the fruits of this redemption. Yes, we are still on a journey. We use a phrase, the journey. Journey big is the first steps. The journey. Start your journey for a new beginning. Reflect the past to build a stronger tomorrow. To be gratified in every step you take. To relieve you from yesterday's sorrow. Measure the past as you recall. Use your wisdom, fear no fall. But be prepared to continue at every will. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. There will be stumbling blocks, hurdles to climb over, rocky roads to trod, monstrous evil deeds to confront. Remember, the future is what you are pursuing and what you will reap from the seeds you are sowing. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. Life means growth from the first day of your existence. Let no one retard your growth. With courage and defiance, you can defy any efforts. With knowledge of self, you can be victorious over jealousy and hate. You must have faith in you and the visions of your journey and how to succeed as you go through. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. This speech, I want to read for us all because we're such a beautiful people, not only in the physical, but in everything, attitude, behavior, the hearts. We are the people. And this people simply named Damn. Damn, we are beautiful people. The many different shades of colors, beautiful eyes and the beautiful smiles of attractions. Dark blue, black skin, brown light, and fair too. Complexions in the contrast of beauty. A people whose frown they smile away and help to brighten a dark and dulling day. Damn, we are beautiful people, robed in the beauty of godliness and dwell in the house of joy and harmony. We sing, we dance, and contribute to this world as it advances. The world we gave many laughter, great gifted sons and beautiful daughters. We grace the world with a culture so unique. Although life seems so bleak, at times we know we can brighten its path. Damn, we are beautiful people, in love with the tranquility of life, in tune with nature's blessing and its spirituality. We believe and obey the laws of the land put forth by the higher man. We are songs, we are drums, we are melodies, we are instruments of many sorts. Damn, we are beautiful people. Energies of rhythms are vibrating in unison because I'm in you and you in me. Love me and I love you back. We must be at one in one stock. Damn.
Thank you.
And now comes time for a real treat. We're giving you treats this evening. We have a cultural presentation by Garvey's Whirlwind. And I want to see them whirlwinding inside here. I don't know which side they're coming from. Garvey's Whirlwind, where are you? I hope they haven't spent all their efforts in practicing and they're still practicing. I think they should have it right by now. Yes, but I don't know who is copying. They're not supposed to be taking it. Where is it? Does he know I've announced it? Yes. Okay. Well, this whirlwind needs to build up, you see. Just come like that. It's got to build up, so they're building up.
The 10 virtues of ancient chemists. Control of thought. Control of action. Steadfastness of purpose. Identity with higher ideals. Evidence of a mission. Evidence of a call to a spiritual order. Freedom from resentment. Confidence in the power of the master teacher. Confidence in one's own learning ability. Preparedness for initiation. Once the mighty lion was free, majestic in his pride free to roam. Long ago, the mighty lion was chained and shackled, bound on a slave ship for a ride, to a land far away from home, stripped of his heritage, stripped of his culture. For many a night, the mighty lion cried, tears for his freedom, tears for his pride. And when his tears were hidden, he still cried inside. He broke off his shackles, he broke off his chains from his feet and his hands, but they still stayed on his brain. Slowly but surely, all due in time, he broke link by link to set free his mind.
Who would tell our story? Who would tell our story? Who would tell the greatness of my people? Who raised the pyramids and gave birth to agriculture? Who domesticated the animals and gave birth to civilization? Who gave birth to humanity and plotted the stars?
Who will tell the story of the attempted genocide of my people? Who will tell about the Middle Passage, of the raping of my sisters and mothers, of the castration of my brothers and fathers, the millions who died in the attempt to conquer our homeland?
Who will tell our story of the resistance of my people in the Americas and Africa? Of Yai Ansatawa and Harriet Tubman, of Bookman and Nat Turner, of Bisco Compass and Malcolm X, of Marcus Messiah's Garvey. Who will tell my story?
Who will tell the story of my mothers and fathers who died for the desire to read, write, and to do math? We have as far as possible closed every avenue by which light might enter the Negro's mind. If we could distinguish their capacity to see light, our work would be complete. They would then be on a level with the beasts of the fields, and we would be safe, said a Virginia Assemblyman.
Though painful, we endured, seeking, hoping, fighting for a greater humanity, rebuilding our families, to educate our children, to develop our nation. Who would tell our story?
Booker T told us, Marcus told us, we must become the nurses, the carpenters, the teachers, the dentists, the shipbuilders, the doctors. We must develop and run our community and nations.
Self-determination is not a privilege, it is a right, a necessity to us regaining our humanity, our dignity, and our respect. We must tell our story. We must live our story. We must remember our story. We must unite Africa. Do you hear the sound? Do you hear the rhythm? Do you hear the drums? Yes, the drums of Africa. I hear the voice of the Mandinka. I hear the voice of the Kula. I hear the voice of the gods. I hear the voice of the Kikoyu. Come home, my children. You have been gone for too long. Though your names have been changed, your language forgotten, you are still African children. Bring to me
known no clime, boundary, or nationality. Like the great Church of Rome, Negroes the world over must practice one faith, that of confidence in themselves and with one God, one aim, and one destiny. Let no religious scruples, no political mechanization divide us, but let us hold together under all climes and in every country, making among ourselves a racial empire upon which the sun shall never set. Allegiance to thyself first. Let no voice but your own speak to you from the depths. Let no influence but your own rouse you in time of peace and time of war. Hear all, but attend only to what concerns you. Your allegiance shall be to your God, then to your family, race, and country. Remember always that the Jew in his political and economical urge is always first a Jew. The white man is first a white man under all circumstances, and you can do no less than being first and always a Negro, and that all else will take care of itself. Let no one inoculate you with the evil doctrines to suit their own conveniences. There is no humanity before that which states with yourself. Charity begins at home. First to thyself be true, and thou cannot be false to any man. We are arbiters of our own destiny. God and nature first made us what we are, and then out of our own creative genius we make ourselves what we want to be. Follow always that great law. Let the sky and God be our limit, and eternity our measurement. There is no height to which we cannot climb by using the active intelligence of our own minds. Mind creates, and as much as we desire nature, we have tough through the creation of our own minds. Being at present the scientifically weaker race, you shall not treat others only as they treat you, but in your homes and everywhere possible you must teach the higher development of science to your children, and be sure to develop a race of scientists par excellence, for in science and religion lies our only hope to withstand the evil designs of modern materialism. Never forget your God. Remember, we live, work, and pray for the establishment of a great and binding racial hierarchy. The founding of a racial empire whose only natural, spiritual, and political limit shall be God in Africa, at home and abroad. Protect.
cultural presentation that was really first class. And would you please show your appreciation for Garvey Whirlwind. The song, "O Africa Awaken," that I'm going to ask you to join me in singing is my favorite Garvey song, and indeed, perhaps the favorite song of Marcus Mosiah Garvey too. It is to be found in the medley of songs on UNIA hymns on the third sheet, the first page of the hymn's third sheet. And you know that I won't leave. I don't have that ability. I'm going to ask Sister Alma Golding to do that. And I will be way at the end here.
Will you please stand? Oh, Africa, awaken, the morning is at hand. No more art thou forsaken, O bounteous motherland. From far thy sons and daughters are hastening back to thee. Their bright wings on the waters, that Africa shall be free. O Africa, awaken, and hear thy children's cries. O Africa, awaken, to God lift up thine eyes. O bright and glorious country, from whence the sons of God were called to foreign boundary, to bear the chastening rod. Torn from thy blessed shelter, we all have suffered loss. Beneath the lash to welter, and made to bear the cross. O Africa, awaken, and hear thy children's cries. O Africa, awaken, to God lift up thine eyes. O land of tropic splendor, of bright blue skies above, to thee our best we tender, O land of light and love. Someday we'll know thy stories, we'll drink thy cup of mirth, revive thine ancient glory, and bring the gods to earth. O Africa, awaken, and hear the children's cries. O Africa, awaken, to God lift up thine eyes. Amen. Thank you. Be seated.
I have the very great privilege and pleasure of introducing our lecturer and keynoter this evening. Professor Yosef Ben-Jochannan is a man of so many parts that I don't have the time to tell you all about them. Imagine someone who is an anthropologist, a linguist, an engineer, an author, an Egyptologist, and a scientist in pure science too. Yet, a man who has never lost touch with his people.
That's right.
A man who has never had any doubt about his identity. A man who has been consistently of the African race.
Yes.
Although we have so many people who have suddenly achieved all around us who don't have a race anymore. I don't want to say too much, but Dr. Yosef Ben-Jochannan speaks for himself. And his topic this evening is a profound one. As a young man, I first looked on this book, written by Dr. Ben, as we call it, Africa, Mother of Western Civilization.
Yes.
And I roved through it with delight. For this Marcus Garvey, educated in the Caribbean, in Jamaica, never had any history lesson other than European history. We didn't study in those times Caribbean history. We didn't study his Jamaican history. We studied European history, the history of white men and white women, roving through the world and conquering. But in that book,
Yes.
I was able to see so much of our history and where we came from. And there I first realized that the African was first in creation and first in civilization. It's my distinct pleasure to give you this evening Professor Yosef Ben-Jochannan.
I would like to say, first of all, good evening. And just to say a few words about my background, because just the other day in November, when we did the presentations you saw last month, there was quite a stir and a confusion took place at the studio by some people when we were about to leave the studio. Some maintain that I was from Guyana in South America. Some said I was from Belize. And the last place was South Carolina. It would be all right, but it would be a little difficult for my mother to drop me, pick me up, drop me, and pick me up, and go all places. However, all of those places I didn't mind being born, because it would be still among African people. But the fact of my mother's dislodging the cargo was in fact in a place called Gondar in Ethiopia. It was not her home. It was not her home. That was my father's home. My father came from Gondar in Ethiopia, and that is the Hebrew community. Westerners call it the Falasha community. We don't call it Falasha, we call it Bet Israel. Now, my mother was a Puerto Rican. She was born in a small island called Vieques, off the main island of Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico at the eastern end at Fajardo, and Vieques was the largest island connected to Puerto Rico. Therefore, my mother is a Puerto Rican. I myself was born in Gondar, and I came to Brazil when I was 6 years old. I was born in 1918, and I came to Brazil with my parents in 1924. Unfortunately, at the same time, the assignment which my father had did not last long because Selassie and the Abuna Johannes overthrew the existing emperor who my father worked for. His name was Lid Jasu, L-I-D-J, Lid, and Yasu, Y-A-S-U. So you have an idea of the source. When that happened, my father could not return to Ethiopia, and thus my mother decided that they will go to Puerto Rico and he will be able to practice law there. And so they journeyed back. It took them 2 years from Brazil to Cuba, Cuba to Puerto Rico. And there in Puerto Rico and the United States Virgin Islands, particularly in the island of St. Croix, because my mother had a lot of family in St. Croix and St. Thomas, but primarily in St. Croix, the Cruz family. C-R-U-Z, it tells itself. And my mother's people were the Sepi. Her mother was a Sepi, her father was a Crew, and therefore, as you know, Puerto Rican, right, Sepi Crew. So I was named after my father's choice and my mother's two brothers. So that's Yosef Alfredo Antonio Jochannan. So that you see that kind of a long label that I have. And my name is spelled both ways. People always question why it is I write my name two ways, Johannes and Ben-Jochannan. Ben-Jochannan is the Hebrew way that all Falasha children, all Falasha children have what is called a religious name, a Hebrew name. And then they have the local name. Johannes is an Ethiopian name, and Ben-Jochannan is the Ethiopian. Really, I have one name, no other name. Yosef is my name. I have no other name. Ben means son of. Jochannan means like Jonathan. So I'm Yosef, the son of Jonathan. When you're speaking about my Hebrew name, and by the way, let me say quickly, I've removed myself from all religious affiliation. So I don't want anybody to get too sweet about the fact that he belongs to us. Because I only worship women, I don't worship anything else. Well, you can't get wrong with me. I was trying to check where I came from, and I went around and looked around. I even looked at the faggots and everybody else, because I want to know where I came from. And since I saw men going with men and things like that, I said, well, let me check that and see if I came from there. And then I didn't see any possibility, and then I said, woman going with woman. I tried to check that. I said, that doesn't look right anyhow. So then I looked, and the logical thing came was men and women go together and produce offspring. But then I heard about Adam, who had a baby from his rib cage. I checked that out, and that didn't look too probable, because I didn't see no hole in the ribs big enough to have a child. So I looked at the last place where I should have looked first, and I looked and saw that everybody came from woman. So I started worshiping women. It's the most logical thing to do. So I hope that none of you get angry with me for doing that, but it's a deduction which I thought I should use. About, let me say, my upbringing was very common. I only had one grade in Ethiopia when I came to the West, first grade, so to speak. And I started my education, my second grade education in Fajardo, the east end of Puerto Rico. And quickly, my father moved over to St. Croix, where I began my third grade education in a place called the Steeple, for those of you who have been in St. Croix. And most of my education was back and forth, because my father went back and forth, work in his duty as a law, and then he went in to become a gentleman farm and all this nonsense. And it went back and forth, so intermittently my education continued between Puerto Rico and St. Croix. And on occasions I would go to St. Thomas. I had one of my father's senior uncle there. I had at the meantime, because most people I meet come from, their family were kings and queens. I'm the only one you met who had no king or no queen in my family. I'm just one of the plain old country folk from Africa. No kings, no queens. We were the one that chased the kings and the queens. So leave me out when you start saying, well, our family were kings and queens. I get annoyed all the time. Every time I see black people, my uncles and my family were kings and queens. You're lying, and you know you got no proof like that. And your father, uncle, plain old bum that was there. Everybody suddenly got some king or some queen in their family. It's just like all black people got some Indian in his cousin and so forth. They look just like me. Some of them is growing a little more. Shall I say the asphalt is a little more prime in there, and everybody's connected to Pocahontas or Pocahontas. Oh, everybody like that. I'm plain old black person. What I'm very proud of is that my father, by the way, I was born in 1918, to give you all a chance that I'm just a few days old, like some of you spring chicken. That would make me, I think, 75 if I'm counting right. Now, in that background, one of the most proud things that I have to remember is the affiliation of my father, which my father brought. My father was the head of the Marcus Garvey movement in Puerto Rico. But he played a double role. He was equally one of the strong members on the island of Vieques. He was equally the head of the Marcus Garvey movement. And so I was brought up in the tradition of Marcus Garvey and Don Albizu Campo, but also in St. Croix. My father was involved with a man by the name of Morris Davis. And Morris Davis came down to Virgin Islands to continue the Garvey movement in the Virgin Islands. So that has been my upbringing. And at the University of Puerto Rico, I joined the Black Shirts. The Black Shirts were the organization of Don Albizu Campo. So throughout my youth, I have always been involved in fighting for my people and my identity as an African person. My mother insisted that I knew this, being she was a midwife, and so that has been my basic upbringing. Another thing that I'm very proud of, I am the father, I was told, of 12 biological children. I've not done, some of you thought that I did study books. And besides the 12 biological children, I have 8 more children, adopted children, so I have 20 children. I lost one last year. One of my daughters died last year. That's another pride. And each of the 12 children with 4 black women. I buried all the women except the one I have now. I presently married to this wife I've been married to for 44 years. And don't plan to get any more women unless they want to be nice to me. And in all this time, I have never had a white woman, never wanted one. I got to make that clear, because you may be expecting from me a statement like from O.J. in his book, that now he understands that he's black, he didn't know before. I don't think you'll get that from me. So I want to make it clear what my affiliation with women were. And behind me, I'm not one of those men that behind me was a strong black woman. Always next to me, there was always a strong black woman. However, I like to enter the door before my wife. I got to let you know how I take. I don't like my woman entering the door before me, because in my tradition, the man must protect his woman. And therefore, I must enter. If there's any trouble, then I get my head knocked off and she got a chance to run away and protect herself and take care of the children. And that's the tradition. So if you see my woman walking behind me, don't take the Western attitude that he's mistreating the woman and got her walking behind. I wish she did walk in front, then I could be protected from the So you need to know the person, what makes me take. Why is it that I refused a career in civil engineering. I was to be, like my father, a practicing attorney. It's traditional among Ethiopian that the oldest boy, must take the profession of his father. Since my mother only had one child, and for 20 years, the first 20 years, then she got my sister. I know about it because I was already 20 years old. I was married by that time because was not unfortunate like most of you. My mother and father decided who I will marry, when I will marry, and I liked it. I did that to my oldest children. I decided who they're going to marry, when they're going to marry, and why they're going to be married. And I'll do it again. All those marriages lost, and mine lost, because I believe in the African tradition. Your parents know more than you. You may think you're doing this Western thing about love. What the hell are you loving without a dime in your pocket? That's why most of the marriages fail, because everybody in love without a dime. And so you get married, but you see, we don't love. My mother decided, and my father sat down with my wife before that and decided, her father and him, and they decided how much money they got, where they're going to have the apartment, everything like that. And therefore, when we got together, we didn't love each other. We had the basis for love. And when we got together with all those things, we learned to love, because there was a lot of things that to love about. But most of you start with love and broke. So you got to get out of love because you got nothing to continue to love with. So I've been lucky in that department to have people who looked out for me. And as I said, I was on my way to study. But I decided to go become a civil engineer. My father allowed me to do that, reminding me all the time I had to be a lawyer. And I eventually became a lawyer. And I had to make a decision somewhere along the line, as my father had warned me. If you go the way you want to go, with respect to your people and to be following himself in a sense, following the pattern of Osiris or Marcus Garvey, you are going to be in some serious trouble. If you follow the route of an engineer or just a lawyer, you will eat well most of the time and do well economically. You have to make up your mind which one of these you will study. Needless to say that I tried both. I worked for years as a prosecutor in Puerto Rico. I worked as an engineer down there. I came up here and did some of that. Went away to Cuba and Spain to graduate school and so forth, and work at the UN and so forth. But neither of these things meant much to me. Though I made a living for the first part of it, but constantly I couldn't feel at home. And the first time I had the opportunity to meet Marcus Messiah Garvey was in London. And we were at the Africa House. There was Nyumbaro, Nandi Azikwe, Chief Awawolo, a number of other brothers who were there. I was the baby of that group. And Mr. Garvey came to speak quite informally. And that was my first time meeting him there in London. I had come for a visit from Spain. And it is there my ideal, one of my ideals. As I said, I was caught between Garvey, Aviso Campo, and Hamilton Jackson in the United States Virgin Islands. All of them powerful leaders for their cause. All of them maintaining their African heritage. Thus, when people deal with Puerto Ricans, I wonder why they have Puerto Rican in a particular separate group. Without distinguishing, one could be Puerto Rican and be African simultaneously, or be Puerto Rican and be European simultaneously. And I think that it needs to make declarations. Somebody says, I saw a Puerto Rican and a black man. What color is the Puerto Rican? I mean, is Puerto Rican a color? Or somebody said, I saw a white man and a Negro. What is the Negro? Is it a man, a chicken? Is it white, blue? You see, these kinds of things that we have make difficulty, and it does a lot to cause, in my mind, confusion. And probably that's one of the confusion that Brother Simpson had. When I speak of African civilization in terms of its relationship to other civilization, my book primarily dealt with quote-unquote Western civilization because at that particular time I was pinpointing my remarks to the West. I could have pinpointed my remark to the Asians instead, and therefore my book would have listed the Asians as the second part of the title. However, I needed to make clear, because right there in my education in the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, because in my education in the Caribbean, let's deal with the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico as parts of the Caribbean, and that's another difficulty many of us have. If you speak French, then some of us say, well, you're not West Indian. I mean Caribbean, because there's no West Indian. Colombia got lost and thought he had to find India. So there's no such thing as a West Indian. And by the way, the boat didn't bring any kind of Indian. It didn't bring Jamaican, it didn't bring Trinidadians, Tertullian, it didn't bring North Carolinian. The boat brought Africans. And regardless of what kind you now call yourself, so that whether you're brown skin, jet black, and light skin, or anything, those are shades of the black color. So to me, it makes no difference what shade of black you need. And therefore, I needed to clarify these things because my mother was a much lighter woman than my father. And you can't tell. You say, my sister looked like her and I looked like my father. So the point was to bring an information that would reflect my entire self as an African person. In so doing, the trust for explaining to Africa, most African people, and up to now, had no concept in the past and still do not now, with respect to North Africa, particularly. Everybody, all the authors I knew, were writing about slavery in West Africa. And up to now, all we labor on is slavery. As if all Africans dropped out their ear into a thing called slavery. I decided that I refuse then and I refuse now to concentrate my time in slavery and the slave trade. For I knew then, as I know now, in the first place, Africans were not brought to the Western Hemisphere as slaves. We were brought as free people and made slaves. And it's a whole, this things, to the point that now a bunch of stupid black people here, calling themselves academicians, have forced the Africans at home to give them a paper apologizing for enslaving themselves. In other words, we have gone to Africa, imposed upon African scholars to write a document asking for forgiveness for having enslaved us. Not one of us has looked for a document for the Roman Catholic Church and gone and asked for a document demanding that an apology must be made for Pope Martin V or the priest Bartolomé das Casas and the island of Hispaniola, now called Haiti and Santo Domingo. The first group of us were not brought from West Africa to here, or even the Caribbeans. The first group of us were brought from Spain. We had gone into Spain as Moors in 711. We had dominated, conquered the Iberian Peninsula, which would mean at that time what is today Spain, Portugal, and southern France. From 1711 till 1485, we were dominant there and ruled, and then we lost power. Bartolomé de las Cascas, who had come over here subsequent to his voyage looking for gold, wrote the Pope in Rome to send the infidels, now we have come infidels, to the islands to work the gold. And thus, Pope Martin V started the slave trade to the west, using the Knights of Malta and the Knights of Genoa to conduct this slave trade to this part of the world. It is strange to me that black men now belong to the Knights of Malta and the Knights of Genoa, included Julius Nyeri. So stupid that they don't know that they're proud of being their slave master's boy. Of course, I've been barred from Tanzania by Nyeri for writing this in my book, and he charged me with racism, and Secretary charged me with racism, but it doesn't feel bad. I feel quite at home. They give me the highest honor I could have, that I'm a racist. I found out now that, but I'm not the only one, so I'm with some bad company, but after all, at least some black people should be racist. Nobody else want to be. Now, this kind of background make me ask the question, with all of the values in humanity, from where and why? Why should my value of morality be that of the people who have enslaved my people? Why should I pray to a God that looked like my slave master? These were questions I asked myself as a young man.
Teach us, doctor.
They were the questions I had to make an answer to based upon how I was going to make my living. Thus, when I had protested in school on the college level and just getting out of college, and my father said he would support my wife and my child until I returned, but I must go back home to see Ethiopia, my family, personal family, his parents, and other parts of his family, and that in doing it, and my return, I must stop in Sudan and stop in Egypt, and then ask, because my teacher had been constantly telling me that Africans got no civilization and had no history. And therefore my father said, when you see this and come back, tell me who doesn't have civilization or doesn't have culture. Well, when I returned, I didn't need to tell my father, because he knew what would have been the answer. I didn't need to tell myself when I was making the examination as to the direction I would be going as a future as a man. And it is that, I could say, was responsible for the 42 books I've since written to the present day. I did not write my books on the basis of being just, writing true history. There's no such thing as true history. History is colored to suit the author. I write African history for an African people, but particularly as I see it, based upon my research. Another thing is that was not enough to stay in a library and go through books, disagree with this book and disagree, or agree with this book or that. No. I had to go to the spot on the site where history took place. When I was writing about Papua New Guinea, I got on an airplane and I went to Papua New Guinea in the South Pacific to see my people, to be with them day in, day out. It was not enough to keep on the tie and tails and stay in a lofty office and then write and feeling that I was doing something. No, And that's the major problem with most of our writers. Hardly one of them have ever been on the spot doing the research. They've maintained places in some office or in the bedroom and write all the theories they want, but didn't live any of the fact, in the past or in the present. And that I said. So therefore, in 1939, when I did go to the Nile Valley, and I did see what I saw, and the conditions I had to study under, the racism and so forth, it told me then that until my mother, the African woman, not the woman who biologically gave birth to me, but my mother symbolically, the black woman, the African woman. And I stopped using the word the black woman because people misunderstand. I mean the African woman, that woman with her African background, whether she dark, light, brown, whatever it is. So that will make it clear. Because if you brought a little rabbit and you put it in an oven, of course no fire, and then you see little things looking like the rabbit come out, you don't holler to your mother, Mommy, the rabbit's got biscuits, because it comes out of the oven. Well, if you bring a black woman here, and then you see some stuff coming out of her guts, and walking around, or crying and nursing, you don't holler, Mommy, that woman just had niggers, jigaboos, you know what I mean, spooks, and whatnot. They still have African children. So I got no doubt that we are African. And after going there, and still it's sad, with all the books you see on Egypt now, everybody writing a book on Egypt. But not one other person, not one solitary African person has gone to Egypt or Sudan and did 1 ounce of digging any place but myself. That's right. It's sad that all the books you see in, everybody is now an authority, but no one has decided to go to research the truth. They will go into the libraries and pick out some white man book and disagree with what they don't like, agree with what they like, but they will not go to certify the evidence. They will not go to dig. And to dig in Egypt means a minimum of $300,000 US each archaeological year. What I mean by that, the archaeological year in Egypt is from September until the end of May, because the other time it's too hot to dig. And it costs you $300,000 minimum to get a crew, to get the supplies for the crew and everything, the various licenses from the government, and to meet the different requirements. $300,000. Figuring, doing lectures in the United States, writing book. And then add to that the adoption of a village. I adopted 48 villages. Those are the villages that were forced to disorganize. Nubian village at the southern tip of Egypt, a section which was one in ancient time, ancient Nuba, and which the Romans came and called Nubia. Those villages, most of their shrines went under the water because of the creation of the Aswan Dam, the New High Dam. The brothers and sisters, they resisted. Many of them, 15,000 of them drowned. You don't hear nothing about that. And these brothers will tell you they're big Muslims and things. They didn't say nothing about the Muslim government who opened the floodgates. In spite of those brothers, they could have taken the army and moved them literally body. But the 48 villages, 48, had to be removed. They're called the Nubian resettlement villages. They were south of the dam where the villages were, and now they are 40 minutes ride, at least 40 minutes ride from Aswan, where the dam is, to where they have been relocated, and were relocated where there was nothing but dirt and stone. The Centroid village, which has been tabooed, is the name of that village. I have adopted that village. It's a long story, we don't have the time. And that village is a central village with the mayor, and support the 48 villages. So that those of you who have been with me know that we do, and you saw a little of it on the Gil Noble show, how were you looking at, especially the last segment of those contributions. Well, these are some of the things that make me work. In 1991, when I was being charged with treason in Egypt and subject to lockup, put in house arrest and all that, for starting a expose there that was bringing people to do different things, and the government was charging me for trying to overthrow Islam. Even one little man, me going to overthrow the whole of Islam. I can't overthrow one mosque, and I was charged with overthrowing. But people, we don't know how much people are afraid of us, and that passed over and everything. Let me explain what it means to do what I do. It was necessary for me to get information, and when I decided to retire in 1987 from Cornell and to go over and live permanently in Egypt, I was going to live in an African country, regardless of where it was at that particular time, because it didn't matter to me which part of Africa. The whole of Africa belonged to me. Now, when I decided that there was some information that I needed, and that information which was controlled by Muslim forces, and particularly at Al-Azhar. Al-Azhar is the oldest university now. It's not the first university, but the oldest existing. I became a Muslim. I needed information, and the only place I could go get it was Al-Azhar. And you had to be a Muslim to get to go to Al-Azhar. I became a Muslim. If I want to get some information from India, from the Hindus, I go right there and become a Hindu tomorrow. Now you could stay there with your nonsense about being loyal to religion. Religion is only a philosophical thought. It has nothing to do with reality. Man's mind, man's belief. And if it is to save the African people and to be a member of the Jugu Jugu, I will join the Jugu Jugu to get the information, and I'll use the information against the Jugu Jugu for my people. So that's why I remove myself from all religious labels, because I don't want anything to stop me from being able to help my people, and I don't care what the name is. So I want to make that clear. I know that, like Professor Clark said, now I have given you the introduction to the lecture. I thought that it was necessary to understand, because many people don't understand me, and they see you and don't understand that the things you do, at least for me, is based upon who you are. I don't write in one vein and then I live another life. I see, like a fella, I went someplace and the brothers were going after some girls, and I didn't feel like it. And they said, well, what, man, you've been here with us this long time, well, you don't want a girl? I said, I always want a girl, but I don't lay in bed with nothing I can't marry. So if I don't see these girls, if I see these girls and they're not good enough for me to marry, then I want to be in bed with them. There's nothing she could do. If I go to bed with a woman, she got to look like a woman that if I needed a wife, I could marry. If she don't have those qualities to me, she could keep what she has. I don't want none. So you got to understand the kind of man I'm talking about. I hope you got it. You hear clearly. I don't say I don't want, and I won't take, but it's got to be look like what I would like. You understand? That one day I feel like marrying, I don't have no problem marrying. Just that. All right. So I don't want the rumor go back. Somebody tell my wife, he said he will never touch another woman. I didn't say no such thing. I say I'll touch one like her. Okay. And when we talk about Western civilization, the African origin of Western civilization, it becomes very difficult to understand. And most people, especially white folks, can't understand how could I speak of the African origin of Western civilization. First of all, what is Western civilization? We must first agree on what we mean about the subject matter. What does it mean? Semantically, what I mean, because when we talk about civilization, is there such a person that isn't civilized? No, not in the reality of the way we use the word today. It comes from the Latin word civitas. It means the person who dwells in the city. That's the original meaning. One of the city. Today, it isn't used in that manner. Today, it means culture. One who is cultured. So let us use it in context with what we mean so we can understand each other. I could say what I've said because since there is, and I know there are many of you in here with your Appa and Lapa and your Dappa and your Phi, Papa, and Kappa Lapa, you see, and think that you got something going. I gotta tell you, you ain't got a goddamn thing going. Even if you got a key with you. Because remember, until I get to 1000 BC, 1000 before, there is no Greece. There is no Rome. Now, if you could find anything that's going to show you a Greek civilization before 1000 or a Roman, let me know. Let anybody know, because everybody was surprised. You come up with something rare. I go further than that. If you could find a God named Jehovah, or a man named Adam and a woman named Eve, before a man named Avram or Abraham, and then put him in this world before 1675 BC, before the Common Era, which would be when the Africans on the Nile are in the 13th dynastic period, let me know. And as I'm saying, and let me add the other one, because that third one, I don't want anybody to get left alone. If you could find a Muhammad ibn Abdullah before 570 of the Common Era, AD as you would say, let me know. In other words, if you could find a Jehovah, a Jesus, a Allah, before the Africans having the book of coming forth by day and night, the book of Gates, the book of knowing Ra, and so on, let me know. What I'm saying to you is Judaism, Christianity, and Islam was nowhere wrong. When we had laws, philosophical and theosophical laws, guiding the behavior of man. Let us take the 42 admonitions to Goddess Ma'at, which was stolen by the Jews and attributed to a phony called Moses. There was no such thing ever as a Moses in Egypt. No record whatsoever. No record whatsoever. Come to Egypt. You're always going to Mecca and to Jerusalem and to Bethlehem. How come you don't come home to the Holy Land at Abydos? You had a Holy Land before your slave masters had a homeland. Your slave masters from Asia or your slave master from Europe. We can't leave the religions our slave master imposed upon us. And that's understandable. It takes a long time for the mental effects of slavery to leave us. The physical one may be gone. You don't see hardly anybody shackled in the body, but it's shackled in our mind. And that's what make us think. We must be shackled when we got a white Jesus on the wall. Even in the toilet you got a white Jesus. And every time you look around, you got Michelangelo's cousin, which Michelangelo paid for Pope Julius the second. And it's in that I'm saying I could start there. And already most of you are mad. Because it's mad with me, particularly today is Sunday. And I know you went to give recognition to the Virgin Mary. And some of you sisters didn't give recognition to yourself. And you were no different than the Virgin Mary. You had a child by immaculate, maybe many, by the immaculate conception. And you give your child birth by a virgin birth. I know you say, that man crazy. I'm not crazy. If you had sexual intercourse, that's something that's very bad. I know you don't want to deal with it, but all of you here was born as a result of it. See? Now, when the person who was not born from sexual intercourse, please stand up and raise their hand. Since nobody, so now it means that all of you, mother and daddy screwed to have you. Is that true? Am I correct?
Yeah, you're correct.
I mean, look, I could be wrong. The person whose daddy and mommy didn't have sexual intercourse, because you may not like the word screw, who didn't have it, everybody agree? All of you born the same way? Okay, now. In Abydos, when you go to Abydos and the wall, still there is the story of the Immaculate Conception of Goddess Aset, which you call Isis. For her husband, God Asar, which you call Osiris. And the son, as a result of that, Hero, which you call Horus. So all of you women here who got pregnant, and the month before you missed your period, you only were going with one man alone. You know that it had to be for that man. If so, you had an immaculate conception. But if you were going to Tom, Dick, Harry, and the next boy, then you didn't have an immaculate conception because you didn't know. When you tell the man, I'm pregnant for you, you didn't know if it's so. You didn't have an immaculate conception. The term immaculate conception was changed at the Nicene Conference, adopted for Mary. And it didn't have anything to Jesus. It was Mary, mother, having her for a non-man. And that was no big deal because Hatshepsut of the 18th dynasty, she, in order to take the throne, said that she was the daughter of god Amun and goddess Het Heru, which you call the golden calf, goddess Hathor. Now, may I remind you what I'm talking about? There is no Adam and Eve yet. And that should be difficult for you. But why should it? You forget that your book, the Old Testament, was not started until 700 BC at a place called the Sanhedrin. That was the first Jewish institution of higher learning where a book was written called the Old Testament for Christians or the Torah for Hebrews. And that's hard. It is difficult because our indoctrination doesn't allow us to see these things. And thus when many of us come to Egypt, even though we look at it at the wall, we are looking at the different carvings and the painting and see where the early Christian tried to dig out the proof. When they copy the information, when you go in the temple, in the tomb of Ramesses VI or Ramesses IV, anyhow, at the Valley of the Kings, and you see the 42 laws that were copied by the Jews and attributed to somebody called Moses. And Moses we wouldn't have whether or not he had lived until the 18th dynasty. That isn't there. But let's go back to something even more basic than that. Even the fact of writing, leaving a script so that you could read the evidence today. And that's why we look to Egypt more than any other place, not because it was the first, because the ancient Egyptians themselves, especially in the papyrus of Hunefa, said, and I quote, "We came from the beginning of the Nile, where God happy dwells, at the foothill of the mountain of the moon, unquote. And that will locate us in Uganda and in Ethiopia, at the headwaters of the Nile in Ethiopia, and the Blue Nile, and the headwaters of the White Nile in Uganda. And the mountain of the moon still mean Kilimanjaro or Rwenzori, the two mountains of the moon in Central East Africa. And there we see equally samples of the Medu Neter, or the language of the gods, which the Europeans call hieroglyphs. And we see those writing, not only the alphabetical writing and the pre-alphabetical writing, but equally the number system that you will see in the temple at Karnak, right north, a wall north of the Holy of Holies at the temple of Karnak. And Karnak is in the original language Warit, W-A''. All of the documentations, when you go to Israel, the guy tell you, we believe there was this temple here. We believe there was a temple of so-so. We don't, when you come to Egypt, we don't believe no temple. We show you the temple. Not tell you we believe one was there. And you go there 20 times to see the believed temple and wouldn't come to Egypt once. Many of you calling yourself Masons. When you call yourself Prince Hall or who, Universal, Enoch or Corey, doesn't mean a damn which one you call it, because it's still jive. Come to the place. You talk about the Grand Lodge of Luxor in your book, but you don't come to see it. You talk about some Solomon being the father of Freemason. Nonsense. There was no Solomon when Imhotep built the first Grand Lodge at Saqqara. Was 2780 BC. Solomon is not till 970. Over 1,200 years before Solomon was in Imhotep and built the first stone building, set up what is called the lodge. And you could go there now and see the same parts of the lodge still left, and of course the step pyramid at Saqqara. But the cracker give you, and you can't leave it. And you know that it isn't correct, but you can't change it because God has given you in his whiteness. And you can't do nothing about it because you gotta stay with it. The other day I heard you singing to the top of your voice, "Make me whiter than snow, O Lord. Wash me in the blood of the Lamb, and I shall..." And that's a bit. Black as you are. They're going to put red blood on you. And you're going to be whiter than snow. You didn't have a course at all in chemistry. None. You don't know to mix colors at all. Red blood and a black body be called white as snow. You gotta be sick. So you see, but with all of that, and I understand, look, I was in the same boat with you. I'm not cursing you, I'm not complaining, I'm not teasing you. I'm just saying what a joke it was. I could look back and see myself when I was like you. Everything the man told me, I believe. I used to sing Amazing Grace too. A cracker slave master song. And here I am at the tip of my voice. Amazing Grace. Shit. It could have been Grace Jones or somebody else, but this was an English Grace. But coming back to it. So when you saw me and Gil in the various temples there, and that was last November we did that, and it was very good that the combination, Vidalo, the cameraman, was from Puerto Rico, Gil was born here, parents from Jamaica, and myself, born in Ethiopia, one parent from Puerto Rico, and so forth. So it was a good combination, and then we had two brothers. As you see, one was a Nubian, and then one was a Nubian Egyptian. And that's something to be clear, because everybody in here could be a Nubian or Egyptian. You see, we got, the crackers giving us such a jamboree of nonsense that if we see a man and he isn't jet black, he doesn't have a nose like a tunnel, the Lincoln Tunnel, or the Tunnel, and kinky hair that you could pick each grain, you know what I mean? And south slip, I like south slip because when you get kissed with them, the girl can't get away too easy. So the fat, juicy south sea lip, you know, they got good vacuum. You know? So I'm not knocking it because I know a good thick lip could do some good job. But you want everybody to have a nice south sea lip. And so when you come to Egypt and you see this pharaoh don't have a big thick lip with the lip gone, it's broken or it's wrapped in the ground, you say, oh God, you don't gonna knock off the lip. No, you got Africans with thin lip, most Africans got thin lips. I'm sorry to disappoint you. No, you go over there and you must understand that it was not until the Africans of the Nile were in their 13th dynastic period that the first non-African people came into Egypt to involve themselves in the Egyptian high culture. And that was a group of Asians calling themselves Hyksos, Hyksos. Came from where Iraq is today, from a little tributary river called called Oxus, O-X-U-S River. The second time, they were eventually forced out. They didn't go much in Egypt. They went as far south as a place called Avris, A-V-R-I-S. They were finally stopped. They remained there for 4 dynasties, from the 13th to the 4th. And may I remind you, the pyramid building period was from the 3rd dynasty to the 12th. And the first Jew wasn't born till the 13th. Now you can't build a pyramid and you're not alive. So we get that straight. After the Hyksos, they were repulsed by a man by the name of Amus. You can see where the Jews pick up the name Moses. Amus started the expulsion of these first foreigners any place in Africa. And that was the end of this. They destroyed the 17th dynasty. Amus was killed on the battlefield, and his daughter, the first woman in human history to take over a nation, a kingdom, and rule it, Makari Hatshepsut. When she died, her son, her brother, Thutmose III, continued chasing the Hyksos out and went all the way to India with the worship of goddess Heru or Hathor, and started what is called today the Hindu religion, themselves being called Tumuls, T-U-M-U-L. Many of us refer to them today as Dravidians. The Bhagavad Gita speak about these people who start that religion. Look what happened. We start another religion and the people come down on us. And now today, they're the untouchables of India. So when you're saying, when I said African origin of the Western civilization, I could have said of the Eastern civilization equally. But I was speaking primarily to the West when I wrote this particular book. You see, when we look at the Hyksos then, and they were driven out, the Africans were free again, and then come another group of Asian invading. And this is why the changing of Egypt. This group of Asian came from Assyria, not Syria. Assyria is about where today's Iraq would be, the northern section of Iraq. And they came with the man that supposed to have later fight the Israelites. that was in 817 of the Common Era. They were repulsed. And then come another group of Asians from Persia with Cambyses. That was in 525. They came with Ashurbanipal. Ashurbanipal was the one with the Assyrians that I had skipped. And then Cambyses came with the Persians under Darius. The next invasion of Egypt came for the first time from the Europeans they had trained. Because if you remember, Greek history started with Homer. And Homer said that even the gods of Greece came from Ethiopia, Zeus and Apollo. You can find that in the book that he wrote, the Iliad and the Odyssey, but particularly the Odyssey. Thales, the first so-called Greek philosopher, all the way down to Aristotle and Socrates in there, the post-Socratian and the post-Socratian and the pre-Socratian philosophers all give tribute to having come to school to Egypt to study. The only one who did not was Socrates, because he was created by Plato. He had no contemporaries. And it is so we have the records. Pythagoras left us with information, the Greek. He said that when he came to study in Egypt, the training was so intense. But most of all, the first thing, you had to not only pledge cleanliness, but you had to perform the basic act of cleanliness, become circumcised. And for a man 60 years old, getting circumcised is different than a boy 7 days old being circumcised. And that's all of the Greeks had to do that when they came before they could be. And they were needed to spend 40 years because a student in the education system, which the Greek would call the mystery system. Africans didn't call it that. The Greeks called it mystery. Everything was a mystery to them. If I go in a surgical operation theater where they're performing open heart surgery and I know nothing about medicine, that's going to be a mystery to me what I'm looking at. So for the Greeks it was a mystery, but not for the Africans performing the work which they had come to learn. All of this. And when we talk about medicine, and they involve Hippocrates, 333, we have him. He's born then. Imhotep is already dead over 2,000 years before Hippocrates is born. Hippocrates himself makes an oath to Al-Heel, one of the gods. That's what we're talking about, the healing art today. And to Apollo, and to Zeus. But most of all, Aesculapius, the Greek name for Imhotep, that he will practice medicine according to these teachings. And yet the American school system teach Hippocrates was the father of medicine. He was the father of medicine, just like Benny Goodman was the king of swing. And these are what you saw on those 4 issues of Egypt. Brother Gill and Vadela and myself did in November last year, a few months ago. Of course, we have thousands and thousands of miles of footage more of the temple. Many temples we could not show because time didn't permit. Of course, their demands, as you could see in New York and the Amsterdam News, 27,000 letters and postcards, plus phone calls came for a repeat of this program. I'm going to bring it down because I know time and it may have a few questions. But just remember, there is a sacrifice that we must make, most of us. And it is one's spiritualness, and that's a term that's so misused, I withdraw it and use another word. One's dedication. Because in this area, one constantly stay broke, physically that is, financially. Because you have the question to make constantly. Like for instance, I got a letter, I came back from Kansas City Saturday. I walk in the house and one of the presents my wife had for me was a letter from the IRS and one from the bank. Both came together saying that they had levy and the bank account. Well, I didn't get excited because they have much, it wasn't much in the bank account, and I didn't pay the tax. They said, well, I had no money to pay no tax, so how am I going to pay? They could go to the village or someplace else or the digging site and find the money. If they find it, they're welcome to it, but I didn't have much. So they took the little that I did have. That's the second bank account. They take the one from Carver. And I guess they're finding the money whatever they can. But if the United States is going to get rich, any money I got, they need at least 2 billion years to get that, because I ain't paying nothing. I ain't got nothing to pay. They owe me 40 acres and a mule a long time ago, and that acre and mule must, the interest must generate $1 billion by now. So I don't know why they're asking me. I don't have it, and I ain't gonna pay a damn thing. Now, you got to understand that when you take the position that people like myself take, you are bucking not only the system of the United States, you're bucking the whole white world. You're bucking everything that they stand for. You are exposing them to the liar as the liars and murderers they are. You are showing that even the basic things that they consider fundamental are nothing but fraud. That the most high, the national symbol of the United States, the Washington Memorial, is a fraud. It is nothing more than the penis of Osiris, symbolically put by goddess Aset. When you go to Rome, you see the obelisk that they take from Egypt, put up in the Pope's yard in Rome, in the Vatican, and put crosses on top of them to make it look as if it had something to do with Christianity. The United States money is fraudulent. Well, as you see the African symbols on it, the Great Pyramid of Khufu at Giza, you see the ever-seen eye of Horus, the left eye, which you call evil eye, nothing but the evil eye. It deals with the war, the fight that Heru had with his uncles, said Typhon, long before Cain and Abel. Long before there was a Cain killing Abel, the first two people. Nonsense. The story of Horus killing his uncle predates Cain and Abel by thousands of years. And this is what I mean, that all those things, and the symbol of justice and the United States Supreme Court, with the woman holding the scale, with one eye and a sword, but one scale up and one scale down. How the hell you get justice with that? That is justice. That's all you can get. Justice is with the two scale. The one is showing goddess Ma'at in Egypt, in all the temples, all the tombs. You would see goddess Ma'at with a feather on her head, no blind, just there holding the scale level. And after your heart symbolically is weighed against the feather of fruit, you then go and read the 42 admonitions of innocence, out of which the 10 commandments was taken. So this is what I mean. And it becomes difficult to my brothers and sisters, because you have been given a bill of good that there's 10 commandments by somebody named Moses, went up and sung Mount Horeb and stop, and you don't even stop and think. If Moses get 10 laws from God in Africa, It must have been an African god. What an Asian god doing there? What a European god doing there, giving laws out in an African land? Let's get it down tight and so forth. But it's going to be hard. It is going to be hard for you to deal with because you have been sugar-coated already into believing that King James said what? Every dot, every T, every I is the word of God. Nonsense. How is it going to be the word of God and King James commission Sir Francis Bacon to pick up the 47 men that rewrote the Gutenberg Bible in 1611? They took men from Eton College, Cambridge University, Oxford University, and the University of Glasgow. Rewrote the Bible for James, who had killed his mother because she opposed him whoring around. How would become the words of God? There's the words of some cracker Englishmen. He and Rome had the big fight and things like that. But no, we can't deal with it because now I'm the bad man. And I didn't do you anything. I catch in hell like you do. I'm pulling your coattail. And you don't want to pull. You don't want to move O.J. Simpson's wife from your coattail. You see? And you already saying, but oh no, right there, I heard you the other day. But O.J. got to be innocent. Why? If he had left the cracker broad alone, he would have been innocent. He deserved to die. He deserved to die. He had a nice sister, beautiful sister. Her baby died drunk when she needed him most. But he walk off, take the hot suitcase, run LaGuardia Field, jump all the way to California and get him a slut. No, you see with me, Mama said, what, if you're a shit boy, get off the pot. Right? And so I'm following Mama. If you're going to deal with the thing, don't deal with it. Marcus Mosiah Garvey didn't pussyfoot. He came all the way down the pike. And I heard you all begging now, some of you want a Garvey Day. For what? When young people come, if I'm a young man, I just born yesterday, when I get 68 and I read that Martin Luther King was given a holiday by the United States, am I going to believe that he fought the United States? Do you give a holiday to the people that fight you? Do you make a day in the manner of the person that fight you? Don't you make that, Brother Garvey, if you make such a mistake, when I die, I'm going to haunt you behind. You ain't want no holiday for Marcus Garvey. He fought the system all over the world. Didn't even get a chance to see the hills of Africa from a distance. Because he fought the whole white world. You don't want to clean that up. How are you going to clean it up? Say he didn't do it? And make him look good? That crackers loved him? No way. And I follow men like Garvey, men like Abisu Compo, Hamilton Jackson, of course, my father, and feel proud. I feel proud being broke. Because if I had my pocket full of money, I might have been a pothead, trying to drunk how I got the money. I'd have been probably an alcoholic head or something like that. But being broke and proud, you see, I could look up at the black woman in her face and tell her, I love you, baby. And she knows it's true. She knows it's true. You see, I could feel proud. I feel proud that day, 85 years ago, when Mama, I know where it come from. Because when I look up there, mama stick them sweet titty in my mouth. I know you all don't know, women don't even, see you sisters, they ain't giving us no titty anymore. You say you're going to go out of shape. All of you going to Hollywood. You're going out of shape. Now your husband is a big gristle biting all over the titty. And they ain't doing nothing but a little baby with a little gristle jawbone gonna mess up your titty. Now get off of it. Get off of it fighting each other. Black men and black women at the university ain't talking. Every time I get at the damn campus, there's a conference. Black sisters, a conference against black brothers. Black brothers, a conference of black. When the hell do you all get together? And when you're dancing, you dance like that. Fight. Damn, they don't even hold. How do you all ever get in a clinch? It's a constant fight, no closeness. The way you dance, explain your attitude toward each other. Then you want to know, I'm looking for the perfect man. Do you deserve a perfect man? What the hell are you talking about looking for the perfect man? And he looking for the perfect woman. And neither are you perfect. Get yourself a man. You don't need I haven't married a college woman yet. I married 4 times. And I ain't got no problem. With my marriage, it turned out pretty good. I done told a woman the other day, I said, I'm not leaving you. You got to chase me because I'm not leaving here. I found myself a home. I'm like the bull weevil, he ain't moving nowhere. But you see, because I am proud. I am proud of what you saw there. And what you saw on that TV for 4 weeks is nothing by comparison when you come and see it. When you come and see that, when you come and see Sudan, and there are 35 pyramids in Sudan. 35. You only know about them in Egypt. They go at 7 hours non-stop driving in the desert to find the pyramids of Sudan. And when you see them, they're much more beautiful than those in Egypt. Those in Egypt are bigger, but those in Sudan, and all kinds of different parts. In Ethiopia, you got the temples in the mountain, churches cut in the mountain, all kind of thing. Lalibela and all the places that, and Aksum, you got other, to go along the Nile. If you had the time to spend along the Nile, you wouldn't want to come back because you would take you a good 10 years to just look at the temples, to deal with the pyramids, to deal with the obelisks, the tombs and so forth, and the culture that you're talking about. So people ask, I cannot get enough. I cannot get enough of the Nile Valley. And if I live to be 100 years, at 300 years I could move, I will be going to the Nile Valley to study. So I say, I dedicate my lecture to you, beautiful African women.
Once again for Dr. Ben. Without further delay, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the very important part of our program. Dinner is served, and we will do it this way. Tables 1 and 15, will the Brother Siaka and the other brothers please make a pathway, tables 1 and 15, and those who are not